How a common man became financially free and created hundreds of crores, real-life journey. During the festive season in Bangalore, I had an unexpected encounter with a gentleman in his late 50s while traveling on the metro. Since the train was almost empty, I greeted him with a simple, "Hello sir, are you from Bangalore?" That small gesture sparked a conversation which gradually grew into a friendship. A few months later, he invited me to his home in Indiranagar. What intrigued me most was how simple and grounded he appeared, even after having wealth worth hundreds of crores. He still walked through the streets, took cabs, and traveled by metro like any ordinary person. Yet, there was something extraordinary about him. Out of curiosity, I asked about his financial journey. Without hesitation, he smiled and said, "It will take a whole day to share everything. If you're free, I'll tell you." Eager to learn, I told him I was ready to listen. What followed was one of the most inspiring stories I've ever heard, a lifetime of financial wisdom, spanning nearly 60 years. His journey toward financial freedom, the choices he made, and the lessons he shared left a deep impression on me. This conversation was so powerful that I decided to create a video to bring his experiences to you. In this video, you'll discover decades of financial strategies, practical lessons, and insights that can help anyone move toward financial independence without unnecessary struggle. I was truly inspired by his story and have already begun applying many of his strategies in my own life. I'm confident that if you watch this video fully, you too will find ideas that can transform your financial future. Part 1: Early Struggles. It was a quiet Monday morning in the city of Hyderabad. The air was unusually crisp, the streets buzzing with the start of another week. But inside a modest two-bedroom apartment, Raghav sat at his dining table, staring blankly at his bank statement. The numbers weren't lying. His salary had just been credited, but half of it was already gone, to rent, EMIs, school fees, and groceries. He rubbed his forehead. "Why does it feel like I'm running on a treadmill? I work harder every year, but the money never seems to be enough." Raghav was 38, a mid-level project manager in a construction firm. He had a loving wife, Meera, and two kids, Ananya, aged 10, and Arjun, just 6. His life looked stable from the outside. But inside, a storm brewed. The master hook of his story came crashing down on him that day. At lunch, his manager casually mentioned a round of layoffs happening in the company due to global recession. "Don't worry, Raghav," his boss said with a forced smile, "your job is safe, for now." For now. Those two words echoed in Raghav's mind like a haunting bell. He walked home that evening not thinking about traffic, not even hearing his kids run to him with laughter. He kept asking himself one question. What if one day I lose my job? How will I take care of my family? How will I pay the bills? That night, after everyone went to bed, Raghav sat alone with a notebook. For the first time in his life, he wrote down his expenses, his income, and his savings. Monthly salary, Indian rupee 120,000. Monthly expenses, 95,000 Indian rupees. Monthly savings, 25,000 Indian rupees, sometimes less. He had about 12 Indian rupees locks in savings, mostly in fixed deposits and a small mutual fund SIP he had started years ago but never tracked. At first glance, it looked decent. But when he calculated his long-term needs, kids' education, retirement, emergencies, his heart sank. If he stopped working today, his savings would last only 10 to 12 months. He closed the notebook, leaned back, and whispered into the darkness. "I'm trapped. I work to earn, I spend to live, but what if I stop working? I'll have nothing." That was the night his journey began. The night he decided he would not just earn money, he would make money earn for him. The first attempt, old-school thinking. The next morning, Raghav went to his father, who had retired after 35 years as a government employee. "Dad," he began cautiously, "I'm worried about the future. What if I lose my job? How do I make sure money still comes in?" His father chuckled, sipping his filter coffee. Raghav, don't overthink. Just put money in fixed deposits. Safe and secure. That's what I did all my life. That evening, Raghav checked FD rates. 6% interest. He did the math. If he put all 12 lakhs in FD, yearly interest equals 72,000, just 6,000 per month. He sighed. That won't even pay my grocery bill. He looked at his father with respect but also a new realization: what worked for his generation won't work for mine. Inflation, higher living costs, and lifestyle needs had changed the game. FDs were safe, yes. But safety without growth meant slow death. The growing restlessness. The following weeks were filled with sleepless nights. Mira noticed. Raghav, why are you so distracted these days? She asked one night while folding laundry. I keep thinking, Mira. If I can't work tomorrow, how will we survive? I don't want you or the kids to ever worry about money. Mira placed her hand on his. Then find a way. You're smart. Don't just worry, do something. Her words pierced him. She was right. Worry was useless without action. The spark of a new path. One Sunday, while scrolling YouTube, Raghav stumbled upon a video titled, How to Make Your Money Work for You, 5 Income Streams You Can Build. The speaker was animated, confident, and spoke about concepts Raghav had never heard before. SWPE and mutual funds. Rental income. Bonds and debentures. Dividend stocks. REITs and NVITs. Raghav leaned closer to the screen, notebook in hand. Each point felt like a door opening in his mind. For the first time in weeks, his heart raced not with fear but with excitement. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of the treadmill. The decision. That night, Raghav made a promise to himself. I will learn everything about making money work for me. I will build income streams so that even if I stop working, money keeps flowing. He didn't know how long it would take. 5 years. 10 years. More. But for the first time, he had a plan to chase. Can I build a life where I don't depend on my job, but my job depends on me? And with that thought, Raghav's journey into the world of investments began. Part 2, The Awakening. The Unexpected Mentor. The following weekend, Raghav attended his daughter Ananya's school annual day. While waiting for her performance to start, he bumped into his old college friend, Vikram, who now worked as a financial consultant. Hey Raghav. Long time, bro, Vikram said, giving him a warm hug. Raghav smiled weakly. Yes, too long, life's been busy. As they caught up, Raghav hesitated, then finally confessed. Vikram, honestly, I'm worried. Expenses are piling up, EMIs are endless, and with all this talk of layoffs, I don't know how secure my future is. Vikram nodded knowingly. You're not alone, my friend. But the problem isn't your salary, it's your strategy. Tell me, how are you managing your savings? Mostly fixed deposits, some mutual fund, SIP, I started years ago but never really followed up. Vikram chuckled. That's like buying gym equipment and never using it. Raghav, money needs direction, just like a project needs a plan. Those words clicked in Raghav's mind. A plan. He had spent his entire career planning and managing construction projects, yet he had no project plan for his own money. The lesson of compounding. That evening, Vikram invited Raghav for coffee. Pulling out his tablet, he opened a calculator app. Look, he said, if you put 10,000 every month in a decent equity mutual fund, SIP, that grows at 12% per year, in 20 years you'll have around 1 crore. Raghav blinked. 1 crore. From just 10,000 a month? That sounds impossible. It's not magic, Vikram explained. It's compounding. Your money earns interest, then that interest earns more interest. The earlier you start, the bigger the snowball grows. To make it practical, Vikram broke it down. 10,000 per month equals 1.2 lakh per year. Over 20 years 24 lakhs invested. With compounding at 12% is almost equal to 1 crore. Raghav felt his chest tighten, not from fear this time, but from possibility. Could my future actually look like this? First sacrifices. Of course, finding 10,000 every month was no easy task. But Raghav was determined. He cut down on weekend restaurant outings, saving 5,000 per month. Cancelled a couple of streaming subscriptions. Took public transport more often instead of cabs. Postponed the idea of upgrading his car. When he looked at his revised budget, he had freed up exactly 10,000. The next day, with trembling fingers, he set up his first serious SIP. As he clicked "Confirm," a rush of relief washed over him. It wasn't just about investing, it was about taking control. The ripple effect at home. One night, his daughter Ananya asked, "Dad, can you buy me that new iPad? My friends all have one." Raghav paused, then sat beside her. "Daughter, do you know Dad is saving money for your future? For your education, your dreams. If we buy this now, it will delay your bigger dreams later." Ananya frowned but listened carefully. "So, saving now means more later?" "Exactly," Raghav smiled, handing her a piggy bank. "Every time I save, you'll save a little too. One day, you'll see how much it grows." It was a small moment, but for Raghav, it was powerful. He wasn't just building wealth, he was building a mindset of wealth in his family. Small wins, big motivation. Months passed. Slowly, Raghav's SIP grew. After 3 months 30,000 invested plus small returns. After 1 year nearly 1.3 lakh invested, with growth showing. Every time he checked his app, he felt proud. He wasn't just running on a treadmill anymore, he was walking a path. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. His savings plan was working, yes, but what about emergencies? What about passive income? What about retirement in 20 years? The sentence echoed again in his mind. Can I build a life where I don't depend on my job, but my job depends on me? That question burned brighter than ever. Part 3, The Struggles and Tests. The Emergency. It was a rainy evening in Hyderabad when Raghav's phone rang. The number flashing on the screen made his heart skip a beat. It was from his hometown. "Raghav," his cousin's voice trembled, "Uncle has had a stroke. He's admitted in the hospital. The doctors say the next 48 hours are critical." Within hours, Raghav and Meera rushed to the hospital. His father lay on the bed, weak but fighting. The doctors explained that treatment, ICU stay, and medications would cost around 8 lakhs. Raghav froze. He had 12 lakhs in savings, but most of it was in FDs, breaking them would mean penalties and losing interest. His SIPs were too new to touch. For the first time, he realized, I don't have an emergency fund. He managed by liquidating part of his FD and borrowing from his company's medical loan scheme. His father slowly recovered, but Raghav carried home a new financial scar. That night, staring at the hospital bills, he whispered to himself. Investments are important, but so is protection. I need insurance. I need an emergency fund. The temptation. A few months later, Raghav's company announced a hefty bonus. His colleagues were already planning new cars, vacations, and the latest iPhones. Vikram, his financial mentor, called him. "Raghav, what will you do with your bonus?" Raghav hesitated. His heart wanted a new SUV. But his mind remembered the hospital bill. "Honestly, I feel like buying a car." Vikram laughed. "That's fine, but answer one question first. If you lose your job tomorrow, how many months can you survive on your savings?" Raghav did the math. With expenses at 95,000 per month, his savings would last barely 9 months. He sighed. Not enough. Then, my friend, Vikram said gently, your bonus is not for luxury. It's for security. Create an emergency fund worth at least 6 to 12 months of expenses. After that, enjoy luxuries. That day, instead of booking a car, Raghav opened a liquid mutual fund account and put his entire bonus into it. It wasn't easy. But when he saw the emergency fund grow to cover 6 months of expenses, he slept more peacefully. The doubts. One evening, while having dinner, Mira looked at him curiously. Raghav, you've been so strict with money lately. No vacations, no new clothes, not even dinner at our favorite restaurant. Are you sure this sacrifice is worth it? Raghav paused. For the first time, doubt crept in. He thought of his colleagues traveling abroad, upgrading their lifestyles, while he was cutting corners. That night, lying in bed, he stared at the ceiling. Am I overdoing it? What if life passes me by while I'm only saving? The next day, he shared his doubt with Vikram. Vikram smiled. Raghav, wealth building is like building a house. You need a strong foundation first, bricks, cement, structure. Once that's ready, you can decorate it however you like. But if you focus only on decoration without a structure, the house will collapse. Raghav nodded slowly. The analogy made sense. So my foundation is savings, investments, and protection. Once that's solid, luxuries will follow. The tempting shortcut. One Sunday afternoon, Raghav's cousin Rajesh visited. He was full of energy, bragging about his new investments in crypto and penny stocks. Bro, you're wasting time with SIP. Look at me, I put 2 lakhs in crypto last year, now it's worth 8 lakhs. Quick money, that's the way forward. Raghav felt a pang of jealousy. 4 times return in 1 year. That's insane. Rajesh leaned closer. Trust me, SIP are for boring people. If you want to get rich, take risks. That night, Raghav couldn't sleep. The thought of quick money gnawed at him. He even opened a trading app to explore. But before clicking anything, he remembered his father in the hospital, the EMIs, his kids' school fees. He closed the app. I can't gamble with my family's future. Boring is better than broke. The next day, he doubled down on his SIP instead of chasing shortcuts. The unexpected shock. Just when Raghav started feeling confident, the unexpected happened. One morning, his manager called him into the office. Raghav, I need to inform you, the company is downsizing. Your position is being made redundant. You'll receive a 3-month severance. The words shattered him. The master hook had arrived in real life. He drove home in silence. His kids ran to hug him, unaware of the storm in his heart. Mira's eyes widened as he broke the news. For a moment, panic threatened to consume him. How will I pay EMIs? What about school fees? But then he remembered. He had a 6-month emergency fund. He had SIP that were growing steadily. He had insurance policies in place. Instead of collapse, he felt a strange calmness. He had built a cushion. He had bought himself time. Looking into Mira's teary eyes, he whispered. Don't worry. We'll manage. That's why I started this journey. Part 4, The Turning Point, Building Streams of Freedom. The first test of preparation. For the first few days after losing his job, Raghav woke up in a daze. No rushing for morning meetings, no endless emails, no project deadlines. Instead, there was silence. But silence can be frightening when your mind is screaming, what next? At breakfast, Mira looked at him gently. Raghav, are you okay? He smiled faintly. I should be panicking, but I'm not. We have 6 months of expenses in the emergency fund. That gives me time to think, to plan. Mira squeezed his hand. That's the Raghav I believe in. You built this safety net for a reason. Now use it. For the first time in weeks, Raghav felt gratitude toward his own discipline. His emergency fund wasn't just money, it was peace of mind. The mentor's return. A few days later, Raghav met Vikram in a quiet cafe. He poured out the story, the shock, the fears, and his cautious calmness. Vikram listened carefully and then leaned forward. Raghav, this is the moment that separates people who live paycheck to paycheck from those who achieve financial freedom. You've survived the first storm. Now it's time to build a ship that can sail forever. Raghav frowned. What do you mean? Income streams, Vikram said firmly. Right now, you depend on a salary. But wealth comes when your money works harder than you do. Let me show you. The 5 streams. Vikram pulled out a notepad and drew 5 circles. 1. Mutual funds, SWP, you've already started SIPs. But once your corpus grows, you can set up a systematic withdrawal plan. Imagine 1 crore growing at 12%. Even if you withdraw 60,000 a month, your capital can still grow. 2. Rental income, real estate may feel slow, but rental properties bring consistent cash flow. Buy smart, and one house can pay school fees forever. 3. Dividend stocks, some companies pay you just for holding their shares. Not quick money, but reliable over decades. 4. REITs, think of them as renting commercial real estate without owning buildings. Easy entry, steady returns. 5. Bonds and debentures, safer than equities, higher than FDs, perfect for balancing risk. Raghav's eyes widened. It was like a new map of life opened before him. So if I build these streams, he whispered, even without a job, money will flow. Vikram smiled. Exactly. That's called true financial freedom. The inner conflict. That night, Raghav sat by the window, the city lights twinkling in the distance. Can I really do this? I'm not a finance expert. What if I fail? He remembered his father's words, put money in FDs, safe and secure. But he also remembered the hospital bills, the layoffs, and the peace his emergency fund gave him. He realized something powerful. Playing safe wasn't safe anymore. Taking informed risks was the new safety. The climax twist. Weeks turned into months. Raghav used his severance wisely, no luxuries, only investments. He split it, part into SIPs, part into bonds, and part saved to explore real estate. Then, one evening, a call came from an old client. Raghav, I heard you left your company. Would you be open to consulting independently? We need someone experienced like you. Raghav's heart raced. This wasn't just another job, it was a chance to step into freedom. He accepted. Consulting paid him slightly less than his old salary, but here's the catch. He controlled his time. And now, instead of spending all his income, he directed a big portion into his 5 investment streams. The layoff, once his nightmare, had become the very push that changed his destiny. A glimpse of the future. 2 years later, Raghav looked at his investment tracker. Emergency fund, 12 months covered. SIP, growing steadily. A small 2 BHK purchased and rented out. Dividend stocks paying small but regular amounts. REITs giving quarterly payouts. He was still consulting, but for the first time, he felt something magical. He was no longer working just for survival. His money had started working for him. Part 5, The Resolution and the Happy Ending. The master hook comes full circle. It was a bright Sunday morning in Hyderabad. The sun streamed into Raghav's balcony as he sipped his coffee, a gentle smile on his face. His kids were playing in the living room, their laughter filling the house. For the first time in years, Raghav felt no heaviness in his chest. No fear of pink slips, no sleepless nights over EMIs. He remembered that dreadful day, the layoff, the panic, the words that had haunted him. What if one day I lose my job? How will I take care of my family? Now, 2 years later, he whispered to himself with a deep sense of relief. Even if I lose my job today, money will still flow. My family is safe. The master hook that once shackled him had now been broken. The family's pride. That evening, Mira sat beside him, flipping through the kids' school album. "Do you realize, Raghav?" she said softly. "You've changed everything. I used to see fear in your eyes. Now I see calm." Raghav smiled. "It wasn't easy, Mira. I stumbled, I doubted, but every step taught me something. Today, I don't just work for money, our money works for us." Little Arjun, overhearing, piped up. "Papa, when I grow up, I also want to make money that works for me." Raghav laughed heartily. "That's the spirit, champ. I'll teach you everything I've learned." Vikram's final lesson. One weekend, Raghav invited Vikram for dinner. After the meal, they sat on the balcony, watching the city lights. "Vikram," Raghav said with gratitude, "you changed my life. If not for your guidance, I'd still be stuck in fear." Vikram shook his head. "No, Raghav. You changed your life. I only showed you the map. You had the courage to walk the road." He leaned in and added, "Now it's your duty to guide others, your kids, your friends. Teach them that financial freedom is not about chasing riches, but about building peace." Raghav nodded slowly. The mentor had passed the torch. Scene 4, the age-based blueprint, the solution for all. Later that night, as Raghav wrote in his journal, he summarized his journey into a simple plan by age group, a roadmap for anyone who wanted to escape the treadmill. In your 20s and 30s. Start early with SIPs and equity mutual funds, even $5,000 a month grows huge in 20 years. Build an emergency fund covering 6 months of expenses. Take term insurance and health insurance early, it's cheap and crucial. Focus more on growth, less on luxury. In your 40s. Strengthen your foundation, 12 months emergency fund. Diversify into real estate, dividend stocks, REITs, and bonds. Ensure kids' education funds are separate from retirement funds. Avoid big new loans, freedom comes from reducing liabilities. In your 50s and beyond. Shift toward safer instruments, bonds, debt mutual funds, annuities. Use SWPs from mutual funds to generate monthly income. Protect your capital, focus on stability over aggressive growth. Plan estate/will to secure the next generation. Raghav closed the notebook and whispered. "If only schools taught this, fewer people would suffer silently like I did." The climax. 5 years later, Raghav was 45. He was no longer a salaried employee, he had built a thriving consulting practice, worked on his own terms, and more importantly, his investments had grown into a strong web of income streams. His rental flat paid for his kids' school fees. His dividend stocks and REITs covered groceries and utilities. His SIPs had grown into a sizable corpus, ready for future SWP. His emergency fund still stood strong, untouched except for rare needs. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, Mira looked around the table, her eyes moist. "Raghav, do you see this? We're not just surviving anymore, we're living. We can take trips, plan for the kids' future, and still feel secure." Ananya, now 15, smiled and said, "Papa, you're my hero. You taught us that money is not just to spend, but to protect." Raghav's heart swelled with pride. This was his real wealth, not numbers in a bank, but the peace and smiles of his family. The happy ending. On his 50th birthday, Raghav stood on the terrace of his own home, surrounded by friends, family, and laughter. Fireworks lit up the sky. Mira handed him a letter. It was from Arjun, now in college. Papa, I want you to know that because of you, I've learned the true meaning of financial freedom. You showed me that real success isn't about fancy cars or big houses, it's about sleeping peacefully at night, knowing your family is safe. Thank you for giving us that gift. Raghav wiped a tear, his heart overflowing. He looked up at the stars and whispered to himself. The treadmill is gone. The fear is gone. We are free. And for the first time in decades, he didn't just dream of a secure future, he was already living it. The story ends not with riches, but with freedom. Not with fear, but with peace. Not with survival, but with a truly happy life. This isn't just a story, it's the real journey of a remarkable friend I met on the Bangalore metro. His life, his struggles, and his strategies are not theories, but practical lessons carved out of real experiences. These steps are like powerful missiles, you can use them to break free from financial stress and build true freedom in your own life. If this story inspired you, then don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the Income Art channel, like this video, and share it with your friends and family, because financial freedom is a gift everyone deserves.